Great news. The Drop with Frank and Brian is officially brought to you by Switch Suspension. Switch Suspension specializes in all vehicle chassis components. Lift kits, lowering kits, air ride suspension, wheels, tires, steering, and brake upgrades. They use all the best products from the best brands. And these guys are truck guys. You roll into their parking lot at the shop and they all drive custom vehicles. So they use their products that they sell on their own vehicles. So if you guys are looking for anything for your vehicles, whether you're just starting out or you just need some replacement parts or whatever, give them a call or visit their website, switchsuspension.com.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to this week's show, The Drop of Frank and Brian. I'm Frank.
Did you change your sweatshirt?
I did. And my hat.
Brian.
I told you. I said I'm going to change my sweater and my hat. Are we peeling back the curtain?
Yeah.
We're peeling back. Okay. This is episode 33. Welcome to episode 33. It has only been 15 minutes since we filmed the last episode.
And Frank had to do a wardrobe change.
Well, I was trying to you didn't.
No, I'm wearing the same thing.
Yeah, so we're recording these episodes back to back. Brian has just gotten back from his New York trip. I hope it was fun. But he hasn't gone because we are filming these episodes back to back so we can stay on track to bring you guys content.
So this episode will go up. This episode will be up the 19th. So
right.
If you're listening to this, it'll be after the 19th, and I have already gone to New York.
Yeah, I hope it was fun.
It was cold. It was rainy.
You got mugged?
I got mugged. And I did some mugging.
You got mugged and did some mugging. Hey, eye for an eye, baby.
Yeah. And this will be the first time that I will not be counting my calories since August.
Oh, you just gonna?
I'm just
going for it.
Just free balling it.
That's awesome. Hey, man, that's what vacations are about.
Right.
Do you remember our Nashville trip? We went insane.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It took me months to recover from that trip. Yeah. We went insane. We were we were just there. We were like, hey man, you want to go check out this milkshake bar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right after we eat barbecue.
Oh. I don't even know how we were walking around that weekend.
Dude, it was so crazy. And do you remember that the little funny thing that happened with that? We were trying to find the milkshake place.
Oh, I knew exactly where it was.
And you're like, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, when we came out, because Angie's like, it's over there. I'm like, no, it's down this street right here. She's like, no, it's over there. I forgot what we bet. But then when we came around the corner, I was like, whack. I'm right.
Yeah, it was a fun trip. But which is good because this episode here, episode 33, we're going to finish the questions that we were doing last week.
And this first question has something to do with trips.
Did you pick that question? Because that's the question I was going to pick. Go ahead.
Vic, was it Vic's?
Like Vic Mini Truck Revival?
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't see his. Man, I'm terrible at this.
You are terrible at this.
All right, go ahead.
So Vic Mini Truck Revival for our guest from. What did I call him? Victor Lopez?
Yeah, you call him Vic
Mini Truck and
Lopez.
Takeover?
I don't know. The whole thing was a little bit of a hot mess.
I know of Victor Lopez. So
he's Gomez. So I mean,
his is Gomez. I said Lopez. It's a little racist. That's okay.
And you also called him Mini Truck and Takeover, which I did. Oh boy.
I know.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Vic.
It's okay. I'm all saying it's okay for me. He probably is like furious. He's just like, ugh.
He's like, I'm not that company, and it's not my last name.
Right.
They'll be like, Brian Smith.
Yeah.
I'm like, Smith's not my last. Well, you're white. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. Well, what about me? I'm Frank Newton. Well, that's not my government name. My government name is Francisco.
Yeah, Francisco. There should be a fancy name after that.
You want to know what my middle name is?
Huh.
Leonard.
God. You are a lima bean.
I am just like a hodgepodge of stuff.
All right.
Anyway, so what did Vic say?
Victor Lopez for Mini Truck and Takeover.
Right.
No, Victor Gomez for Mini Truck Revival.
Uh-huh.
He said, What is it like spending days on the road with each other? Who gets annoyed at the other first?
That's a good question. That's a really thanks, Vic. That's a great question.
He said he meant to ask us on the podcast, but he was too busy talking about himself the whole time, like a guest should.
Gee, no, I was kidding. No, that was great. Every time we do these episodes and we go back, because I, like we said before, I review them. So I review them. I'm like, damn, I should have said that, or I should have brought that up. So it happens, and that's why we'll have him on again, and then he can remember all the things that he wanted to ask us.
Also, Roulette said, why did he get 2 hours and Vic got 2 hours and Roulette only got an hour and something.
Vic's more interesting. Sorry, Ro. No, I'm just kidding. You set me up for that.
I did set you up for that. I told Roulette is because you wanted to go bowling.
That's true. And sometimes I'm not a good gauge on when I'm consuming beverages. And you were like,
I was kind of
like, oh, this fool, he's ready to get out of here.
Frank's ready to go be Frank.
Go be Frank. So that's why. But we'll have Roulette on again. There's stuff about Roulette that I realized that I didn't ask and should have went into more detail on. So
So basically, we are going to have these guests reoccur at some point in the future,
and we still need to have Uncle Joey's FFF story time. So we need to figure that out. So we're actually winding down the year. When this episode comes out, it'll be the week of Christmas. And so, we're winding down this year. We announced our giveaway on the last episode for the AccuAir E-Level kit. Yep. We're coming into the new year. So we still got a lot of ideas, and we still have a lot of stuff to cover. We're not done yet, man. We're not out.
Maybe we should have Joey on for our year anniversary.
Oh, but that's not until May, and I'd want to have him on before that.
Well, it comes fast. It'll be like,
oh, that's true. I know, man. Yeah. Hey, do you know... Dude, LST is only like a couple months away.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I know.
Yeah, so crazy.
So,
anyway, back to Vic's question.
All right, Vic.
Let's
I
see.
like how we almost went into a depression right there. We're like,
I know.
Oh. I can't wait for LST, and it's great weather this year.
Oh, man. Well, we're on track to have a great year.
Yeah.
You have Lonnie, I'm sorry. Sometimes you have not a great year, but it's following up with a really great year. We're going to have the best weather. It's going to be the best time. But with the way that plane tickets are looking, Angie's not going to be there. So,
are we going to do this LST thing?
It's looking like that.
All right, Dallas, get ready. My Dallas crew.
Yeah.
And my Houston crew. And we're going to have to do this.
Yeah, we're going to have to do it. It's going to be interesting.
I'm just not going to make a video.
Well, we can do that.
I told everyone that I wasn't doing show coverage anymore, and then all of a sudden
proceeded to do show coverage.
Yeah. I should have told everyone I'm doing show coverage and then stopped doing show coverage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that would have been funny. Like, you just go all and you're like, all right, man.
I had to fulfill my promises, which were severed was my last one.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now LST I have to figure my life out. Anyway,
yeah, same here.
Let's answer Vic's question.
Vic's question. So his question was like, what's it like being in the truck together for hours and hours and hours and hours? And you know what? Honestly, it goes by really fast. You would think like, oh my gosh, we got to spend 24 hours to drive to, wherever we're going. It goes by really fast. I've noticed.
So what happens is Frank will get here because 99% of the time you're coming out this way. So, well, you'll get here really late at night and we'll load the trailer up or talk for a little bit and then we're asleep. And then in the morning, all of the stuff you're hearing on us talk about on this podcast is what we would talk about in the truck. Mm-hmm. And the reason we started this podcast is we were like, we should talk about this on a podcast. Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about now, when like the last episode when we were talking about judging a show and like those are just conversations that we have.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it and recording it.
Yeah. And now like the last trip we went on to Louisiana, that's what we were doing. Like, oh, okay, this would be a good topic to talk about.
Now we can't talk to each other on the pod.
No. Stop. We'll pick that up later. Yeah. But no, it's I have I don't want to say talent, but I definitely have a knack for being able to sit in one spot for hours upon hours and upon hours and drive. Yeah. And it's really interesting because my family, like, I don't know, this sounds strange, but bear with me. So like my dad was really good at driving. So my dad, we've had many companies over the years, and at one point we had a tour bus company where my dad would pick up people, here in LA, and then here in LA, but in SoCal, in LA, all over, and take them to like Vegas on tours, and he would be driving all the time. We had a trucking company that obviously you're just driving all the time. And actually before that, when he was really young, he would deliver motorhomes. He would pick up motorhomes at some factory, here in SoCal, and then deliver them to all over, and then fly back and keep on doing that. So, and my brother currently delivers his wife's family builds trailers, and he delivers those trailers. My point is we're really, really good at driving, and I'm no different. Like I can sit there for hours and hours and hours and just focus on the road. So that's why I'm saying like these trips, they seem to go quick. Like, because the opposite side of that is remember when Eric from our club drove up to Oregon and almost died?
Yeah.
Like it just like you couldn't handle it. Like, and that's the other side of it. So I guess it's like a skill. Maybe that's the right word. It's a skill.
I can drive for long distances because I don't drive every day. So
That's a
I
good
leave
point.
the
Me
house.
neither. That's a good point.
If you're sitting in traffic every day, commuting, the last thing you want to do is drive across the country.
That's true.
Me, I look forward to it. Like I am now to the point where I'm looking forward to LST. I'm like, okay, the last one we did was Louisiana. Couple months in between. Yeah, let's road trip. Let's get out of the house for a couple of days. Do this. So I think that's one thing. But the who gets annoyed of each other first thing. Who gets annoyed of the other first?
I don't want to say. I don't want to make this sound like it's like all puppy dogs and ice cream. I never get annoyed.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm just like, because I think from my mentality is getting annoyed would only like complicate things and make them harder. So why do that? Why? So like maybe if something does like I guess if you do something, either one of us does something that annoys the other, I think both of us just go like, we can't dwell on this because it will only make the whole trip harder, and we need this to go as smoothly as possible.
And if there is something, which I can't think of even anything.
Yeah, I know. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all just like, like everything's fine, but it is. It is.
Yeah, because we definitely annoy each other. We spend so much time, not physically together, but we're in the same space with this podcast. And like, like, Frank, did you make teasers next week or this week? And you're like, oh, I forgot. And like, that's not an annoying thing. It's just like, we share the same space. So I don't want to say we annoy each other, but I'm sure we get on each other's nerves a little bit or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not even like a getting on the nerves thing. It's more of just like I don't know.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's only we have a mission, we have a job to do.
I think we have a goal.
Yeah, and so anything that would like make that goal harder to achieve isn't worth getting into. So you kind of just like, put it away and you just move forward, because you're right. Not only are we like stuck in a vehicle for many, many hours, you're right. We're setting up the booth together. Our booths are next to each other. We're working out of the same trailer. We're packing our stuff together. You have to have and I'm going to blow a little smoke at your way, is you taught me how to be that way. Like I used to, a long time ago, I used to get very anxious and annoyed, and me and Angie would argue a lot. Like when we first started doing it, when we would go to shows and start setting up, we would argue a lot. And then the more I hung out with you and the more I saw how you handled situations, I apply that to myself. I was like, okay, all it is, and I said it again, all it's going to do is complicate things and make this harder. So it's better to just try to understand the other person, understand what they want, try to, as best as I can to put out there what I want, and then try to work it out.
Yeah, because I think if anyone gets annoyed with anyone, it's each other getting annoyed with ourselves.
Yeah, no, true, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
I'll get annoyed with. Do you remember that time we went to LST and I didn't have a gimbal? I just literally worked off my little mini crane, and I left the booth and I came back and I said, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I remember that.
And transparency alert, we trade our booth out with LST, and I provide content for them, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, there's a trade there. Media stuff, and I do a lot of work for them in exchange for the booth cost. So I remember when I came back, I said, I'm not making a video. And you're like, well, wait, now we're going to have to pay for the booth.
And I'm like, and that was
Frank
only like
didn't
my
care.
second LSD.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
all
like,
oh man.
yeah, I hope we cover, like, are we going to be able to cover our costs? Like,
Yeah.
So again, at that point, I was getting annoyed with myself, and then I had to come back to the booth and just get over it.
Yeah, because again, like there's too many moving parts to this to make it more complicated.
Yeah. And I think we're also super easygoing in the fact that there's no little weird quirks to get annoyed by.
That's true. Yeah. I always, and to blow smoke up my own self is like, I think of that, and Angie will say differently because maybe
there's definitely a different dynamic there.
Compartmentalize it and then put it out another way because I'm hard to deal with at home with Angie, and I admit that. But when we're out there, I consider myself like super easygoing, like even like going somewhere and being like, okay, look, this is the sleeping situation. You got to sleep on the floor. I'm like, okay, like it doesn't bother me, or like you're like. It just because I don't want to be that. I just want to just get what we set out to accomplish accomplished, and be successful at it, and then move on.
Yeah, and I think that's too why we don't take a lot of people on these trips with us.
Yeah,
because it changes the whole thing. Like, so here's an example: we get an Airbnb at LST. It's you and Angie, Joe and Morgan from C10 Vatos, and then me, and then usually sometimes Lindsay will be there, sometimes we'll have someone there, but Joe will be like, hey, can we it's like, can we get the master bedroom with this because of this? And it's like, yeah, not a problem. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I look at everything like, what's going to make it easier for myself, what's going to make it easier for Frank, and what's going to make it easier for Joe, because if you start to sit there and just battle each other for things, it'll unravel the entire thing, and you just won't have a good weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. It's like it would just needlessly complicate things.
That's right.
Because we have enough adversity to deal with anyway, with weather, with travel, with stuff that happens. There's already enough adversity. You don't need a man make anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. So Vic, everything's fine, man.
Yeah, we're good.
He's gonna come with us to, possibly come with us to Mini Nats. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see it firsthand. Maybe that's the time we lose it, and that's the end. Like that's a wrap for the whole thing.
Yeah. Or we'll get annoyed with Vic.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. I think Vic's like us.
Yeah, I think so. Super easy.
I think, like I sleep in my truck. I don't even care.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what we found out in a couple episodes ago when Vic was on. Like he's the same way. He wants to accomplish a goal, and he's just gonna sit out and accomplish that goal.
When I was a couple days after that podcast, and I was thinking about that, I was like, he's rolled up to the show, slept in his car, did the booth, and then just kind of went home. And I'm like, thinking all the times at LST or any of these trips where we just sleep in the truck. Like anything to get the job done.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the I hate that, like the whole like hustle culture mentality and all that stuff, but that's part of it. You just have to focus on what you want to accomplish. It'll be way easier.
Here's the goal. Go get the goal and then figure everything else. And then hopefully, like, we haven't slept in the truck on the way home from a show in a while. We've gotten hotel rooms.
Yeah, well, because like you've said before, it's like you just get to the point where like you just realize that it's costing you X amount of dollars, but mentally it's more beneficial to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the little things you learn. That's the little things you learn along the way, again, to make that goal more streamlined. If you're like, okay, yeah, it's going to cost me an extra $100 to do this, but mentally I'm going to be more prepared to finish this task.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Or I'm going to work a little bit harder to make my videos better. So hopefully I sell 5 more t-shirts so I can afford that. So I get that hotel room without it, like me thinking about the budget process in the meantime.
With my personality though, even with that, I'd still be like,
Yeah. Well, I think about it too. I'm just like running the numbers through my head, and then, the days of $40 hotel rooms are gone.
Yeah.
So everything's at least $100 or more, depending on, was it, on the way to Last Resort when we got that special comfort in.
Oh yeah, it was like $74, but it was $74.
It was $74.
That was an interesting time. But that's
Go in, close your eyes, wake up and leave.
Yeah, we've done that. Do you remember the hotel in San Antonio with a huge blood stain on the floor?
Oh, that when you got sprayed in the face with
I got
insect.
I got sprayed in the face with bug spray.
Yeah,
that was fun. Well, and that whole trip, I mean, that whole trip was the, I mean, if any trip was gonna break anything, it was, and that was like one of the very first ones too. I think it was like the second
2015 or something.
Yeah, that was like one of the first ones. And if that didn't break anybody, that
was our first trip to Scraping the Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Doug's truck and his trailer broke and that whole deal, and we weren't even. Well, I mean, you were making.
I lost a box of DVDs.
That's right. They flew off the back of the truck,
or got stolen because we stopped at the hot dog place, Chicago hot dog place.
Oh, that's
on the
Phoenix.
other side of town.
Yeah.
And we're eating, and then I didn't notice it until the next stop that they were gone. So either they got stolen out of the truck there or flew out of the truck.
Right.
And yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, there's been so many things that happen on these trips that could have broken everything, but they didn't, and we move on. The one may be coming. We don't know. So that's the thing, is just we keep on moving forward.
Keep on.
Hustle.
Keeping on.
Hustle and do all that Gary V stuff. I don't know.
Stuff you're going to do anyways, but do it with a meme behind it or something.
Yeah. What else you got?
Let's see. There's a question from Jordan and a question. I like, we'll probably do Jordan's right after this. I like this one. Robert Myers.
Okay.
Would you both be just as passionate for the scene if you rode solo and weren't in a club?
I asked myself a similar yet a little bit different question. Would I be as passionate for the scene as if I wasn't financially involved in it? I kind of think about that sometimes.
Oh yeah, I think about that too quite a bit.
And that's sort of the same thing. It's like, would I be going to as many things as I do? And I would like to think, obviously, in a perfect world, I would like to think I would, because if I wasn't doing this, with a financial motivation, I would be doing something else to obviously earn money, and this would be my escape. So another question would I enjoy it more? Like if I had a job, making money, and like my release was to go to shows and take my truck and go hang out, it might enrich the experience, because like I'm just like there just doing whatever I want.
Yeah. And to answer his question for me, is I would 100% still have the passion, because I started going to shows even with I remember the first time when I first got in Forbidden, I was going to shows by myself, and SEMA, I went to a couple SEMAs and I just hung out with the guys from Severed and whoever was there, and then the club started to kind of come around and start going to SEMA more, so it just became better. So yeah, I think so. I think if I took imagine taking the Grinder TV part out of it, the financial side of it out of it, and the club side out of it, I think the passion would still be there for custom vehicles, but who knows about the scene in general? Like
I see. Like the mini truck scene in particular.
Yeah, because if you take your club out of it and take everything else out of it, you just go to a show. And I think this makes, you have to have the passion for the vehicle first. Mm-hmm. And then the passion for the social part of it second, where so many people always say, oh, it's about the people. It's not about the trucks. It's like, no. Because your dedication to your vehicle spills over to your dedication to the club. Mm-hmm. So I like cool trucks. I like cool cars. Would I be going to like mini truck shows exclusively? Probably not. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I might get a sports car and do sports car things. Maybe I would go to the track and do track things. Maybe because I do like fast cars. So I do like Euro cars. I do like this. So I don't know if I would necessarily be tied down into this scene as much as I would be if I took the social aspect out of it, and the club aspect out of it. But car wise, I'm still passionate about vehicles because I think cars are cool.
Yeah, I kind of went off on a little tangent, but to be more precise in answering his question, I feel the same exact way. I've been into vehicles and cars and custom cars since I was very young, and I've admired car culture since I was very young. And so yeah, I would probably be doing it too, with take away the club and the scene and stuff like that. I'm same as you. I just like when you hear like the roar of a V8, just something in your brain goes like, I like that. Or you see a flashy car, you see flashy paint, you're like, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get along when it comes to the club stuff, like, and I know you're the same way. Like, I get along with other people and other clubs just as much, sometimes more than some of my own club members. And I think that's totally okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So I could go to a show, and I've done this many a times with 0 Forbidden Fantasy members. And me and Mike Milan from Perfect Poise will hang out, or me and Joe from Severed Ties will hang out, or me and Brett, or it doesn't matter who it is. It's just or what club it is and stuff like that. But that's a really interesting question. If you pulled certain things away from this, would you still like go to Severed Ties show? Would you still go to the Forbidden Fantasy show, like, without the club?
It'd be really interesting, and if everybody was like really honest with themselves, it'd be really interesting to find someone who would be like, oh, you take away the scene, you take away the club, then I'm just out. Like, it'd be really interesting to talk to that person, just to pick their brain, not to judge them in any particular way, but just to try to understand, like, just be curious, like, wow, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. That's why I think the vehicle is just as important as the person, in a different way, that the person is also more important than the vehicle, because you don't want to have a club full of a bunch of jerks or a bunch of
and we've seen that.
Yeah, certain types of people that don't align with your fun having social thing. People in car clubs aren't going to think the same way or live the same way. But when you're at the car show, you all have to be mutually respectful of each other, because you want to be around that club, to be in that club. But the reason you're in that club is because of the vehicle. So if you took the vehicle part away, are you going to still hang out with those people?
Yeah, that particular type of people. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, no, that's great. It's because, like, what it is, it's like this really not well balanced, but definitely this, like, this all these factors make up the whole thing. Yeah, that was great.
It's almost like saying, okay, here it is. If you won the lotto, if you won $1 billion, which is more money than most people can even fathom.
Yeah,
right? Like $1 million, you could be like, okay, in this day and age, $1 million is like, oh, I probably would still do the same things I'm doing now if I had $1 million. But if you had $1 billion, would you still be doing the same things as you are now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I probably would be doing the same things I'm doing now, just because that's what I like, just on a much grander scale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who's the guy in the 38-foot tour bus with the mini truck trailer behind it?
And that's the thing is, like, most people would say, if you had $1 billion, what would you build? It would be like, they would say, like, the baddest Mazda on the planet. I would obviously do that, but then it would be like this giant, like, toter home RV. Just so ridiculous. I wouldn't be driving it. The guy I hired to drive it would be driving it. I'd fly well, I mean, I won't fly, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. We would be doing the same thing, but we would be it would be
insane. It'd be insane. It'd be so crazy.
I probably, if I had $1 billion right now in my bank account, I probably wouldn't be thinking about LST next year. I'd be going, like, probably, I don't know if I'm going. I'm probably going to go on some vacation, probably going to go to Europe, probably going to do this, do that. And maybe I'll come back to I'm going to take a break from that life. I'm going to start this life, and then I'll come back to this life once I'm done doing this. So,
No, very good. I don't even know how we started on that from that question, but no, that was great.
Because that's just like all these questions, there's so many ways to think about them.
Right. Oh yeah. And that's what's the great part about, like, all these discussions is there are so many layers to it and so many things that you could take away.
Yeah. And that can go fold right into Jordan.
Okay.
His question.
All right. Yeah. After that, I got one right here that seems pretty good. Go ahead.
All right. Which one is it?
It's Mike Backey? Baquet?
Baquet? Do I have that one? Oh, the best show. Okay. Yeah. That'll fall right into after Jordan's.
Okay, cool.
That'll be perfect. So Jordan says, I don't know if this has been asked, but maybe it has. what inspired you guys to even get in the mini truck scene, not filming and photography, but actually want to be in a club and build a truck? And I think we have hit on this, but we can maybe just do a short version of it.
Yeah. We were kind of already talking about that in the last question. Like, it all starts, and it sounds so contrived, but it's true. It's just like, it starts with the passion, wanting to do this and having, being interested in these crazy vehicles and wanting to build them and stuff. And like I just said, mine stems from being very young, growing up around cars, and my parents having the vintage car lot, and me being exposed to so many different types of people and types of vehicles. I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
Inspired. So he put inspired to get into the mini truck scene.
Oh, okay. In particular.
So I bought it. I had a 65 Mustang and I sold that.
You did?
I bought it.
That's new. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Small one. It just had the 6-cylinder with a 3-speed. It wasn't the 289 with or anything like that.
Hold on. Before you go any farther, I have to point this out. My first car was a Mustang with a straight 6 in it, not a 5-speed and an automatic.
So yeah, mine wasn't my first car.
Oh.
It was like my first truck was an 83 Nissan 720.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's
and
right.
Then, yep. And then I got I got the 65 Mustang from there. And then I sold that and I got a Toyota Corolla Tercel. Then I ended up getting an 86 Toyota pickup, which was officially my first. I bought it lowered.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know that. I didn't really know about lowered trucks or anything. Got that, and then I met Mike Quigley and a bunch of guys that worked at this pizza place in Riverside. Mm-hmm. And Mike Quigley had a lowered truck with a shell on it, and it was super sick. And that I was just like, why is that like that? That truck got me pretty much into all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started seeing the social part of it, the social aspect of it, like a group of people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I like this. So that kind of inspired me, was seeing a truck lowered when it shouldn't, and super low, that's what inspired me to do all this stuff. And then it just snowballed from there.
It's funny how like a series of events, leads you up to that. Like, had you not met Mike, maybe you met someone else, because like that very similar situation happened with me too, because I've had so many cars. It's just funny you brought up a Mustang, because I had mine was actually not that body style 65. It was actually a 71. And in the early 70s, like Mustang and Ford were kind of making all these weird like offshoot types. Like, they had the Mach 1 and all these different ones. Well, this one was actually called a Grande. Mm-hmm. It was a 71 Mustang Grande. And it was like, because my parents had the car lot, we had all these different cars, and my dad refurbished this one to sell. No one bought it, so I ended up with it. It was white with forest green racing stripes with like a forest green like soft roof. Yeah. It was a really interesting little car.
It was a weird time for Mustangs.
Yeah, early 70s. Yeah, very weird time for Mustangs. Yeah. But that was my first car. So, but that had nothing to do with my journey getting to here. That journey was, I had my OBS truck that I've talked about before that I always bring up. I traded that for an S10. And this is what I'm talking about, those little things to where you are. So I saw the truck for sale, the S10 for sale, went up to the guy, said, hey, you want to trade? We traded. At that time, my OBS was on hydro, so it was already like sort of custom. So we traded, and it had all these wiring problems. So I took it to the stereo shop, and it's parked in there. And Pat Buzzard, which was the president of my old club, Twisted Obsessions, was driving by. He saw the truck, thought it was the previous guy who owned it. And he's, oh, I'm going to stop and say what's up to him. So he walks in and sees me, and we start chopping it up. And he's like, oh, are you part of a club? And I was like, well, no, I was not part of a club, but, and I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but this is all going to tie together. So not part of the club at the time, but I had already had ambitions to be in a club. And I've talked about this before. So growing up and being so interested in car culture, I knew I was going to be part of a club. I've said this before, that I thought I was going to be part of a lowrider club. And in one previous episode, when I was talking about the logos and showing my plaques, I forgot to tell this like really funny little story about it, about growing up wanting to be in clubs. So I described in that episode my plaque being very special to me because I've always wanted one of those, and now I do with the Forbidden Fantasy. when I was really young, 12-ish years old, I'm gonna put this out there. I would go on like Print Artist or whatever, and I would like make up club names. I would print them out, cut them out, and put popsicle sticks on them to make plaques. Like I was making up my own clubs and making up club plaques when I'm like 12 years old.
Yeah.
You know? And so that sort of, and then that was like a little side story. So to go back to about, you know, being at this place at that time, you know, Pat says, "Are you part of a club?" I said, "No, not really," even though me and my friend were trying to start one, but that didn't work out. And he said, "Well, why don't you come to a meeting and check it out?" And, you know, the rest is history. I became part of that club for a really long time. But my point is like those little things. Like, what about if I just kept my OBS that was on hydros, and I actually did really hardly pursue going after being in a lowrider club?
Yeah.
You know, how different would my life be? You not met Quigley and saw something else, you know? And it's just crazy how we end up in this where we are.
Yeah, all that stuff fascinates me about like the little things that change the trajectory of your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was this question?
What inspired you to be get into mini trucking? Mine was
there's that whole story.
Just seeing trucks low. I just think that's cool.
Mine was just coincidentally trading my full size truck for a mini truck and just falling into being a mini trucker, basically.
Yeah,
it's really it's not like a interesting story. Just how.
Yeah, mine wasn't like I went and walked in the grocery store, pulled Mini Trucking magazine off the shelf.
Oh yeah.
Like those stories. That was not me. Like I was going to the street races, driving my truck like an idiot. And then I was like, oh, there's actually other groups of people with lower trucks. I'm going to join this group of people with lower trucks. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. And mine was like, I cut my teeth in Lowrider magazine. I had stacks and stacks of Lowrider magazines. You know, now later on in my life, being a person who's into sports, I wasn't when I was a kid. So now that I think about it, now that I told the story about me making plaques in my bedroom, you know, and also like I didn't have, you know, Jordan or Magic Johnson posters in my room. I had lowrider center spreads all over my room. Like those were like, and I used to have like El Rey and, you know, Gypsy Rose, and like those were my heroes. Those cars are my heroes.
Yeah. All right. What's the question that you have?
Yeah. So this one is a good one. So this is from Mike Buckey. It's Backe with no accent over the E. So is it back with a silent E? Back A missing the the accent. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, Mike. He says he's got two questions. The first one, what's the best show or location to drive to? Scenery, food, history, etc. And question two, what is your spirit animal? Just really quick, I'll start with the second one. Funny enough, I've been actually spending a lot of time thinking about what, not necessarily my spirit animal, but the kids, kids are kids. They always ask like weird questions, and they're like, what's your favorite animal? I never have like a good answer. I'm like, I don't know what my favorite animal is. Like, and I really tried hard. I was like, obviously dogs and cats, like, you know, but those are pets.
Yeah.
But
what is a spirit animal to begin with? It is
a spirit animal, I guess, is the same thing. It's like an animal that you identify with. Like maybe you're very into, I mean, this is very, whatever. Like you're into lions because you're like strong and you're powerful and you're like,
and you're
not a sheep. You're a lion.
Or you're like a sloth and you're just very slow.
Yeah, exactly. You're very slow or whatever.
Rawr.
Yeah. So those are your spirit animals.
Yeah. I'm a sheep. Whatever you guys want to do, let's do it.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm down for anything. Yeah, I don't know. I've and it's funny that I put a lot of thought into that lately. I like certain animals. I have a lot of animals tattooed on me. You know, I have eagles and owls and bears. Oh my.
Lions.
No, it's a bear. It's a bear.
Maybe your spirit animal is the bear.
Maybe it is.
It's quiet and cuddly, but it can pounce at any time.
And just that's one thing. Actually, that's one thing I love about bears. Like, think about it. If you ever saw a bear, you're cooked. Like, that's a wrap. Like, you're done. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never thought about that spirit animal thing either. So I see funny memes about it. Like a sloth is just like, they'll give a crap, just whatever. It's moving really slow.
And sometimes people will just say people. Like I've seen, oh, that man is my spirit animal. Maybe it's like a term that's just a whatever. It's a whatever.
Whatever.
Term.
All
Anyway,
right.
so that was that kind of answered that question. But anyway, his first question, is really good. Like, what show? Not only is it a cool show to go to, but it's like everything about that show, the scenery, the travel, the food, like everything.
I always say mini nets.
Me too. It's pretty basic. And I was, as I was reading that and thinking, obviously we're gonna say mini nats, or me and you now too. Like, we sound like such like simps for mini nats.
Here's the thing. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the country.
Dude, yeah.
Right? Like that whole area. You just can't really beat it if you're a mini trucker, because it's mostly mini trucks, badass trucks, lots of vendors. The town is welcoming. You're not having to worry about anything really. There's plenty of food around. There's plenty of stuff to do. And then if you want to take like a vacation, like how we've done to Nashville or whatever around it, you can do that afterwards. But
I was going to say the same thing, because like if you're taking all things into consideration, and we already said enough about the show. People know about the show.
And he said, and like food and history, which,
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned in particular, which is really good, is the town is welcoming. Like the show's awesome, the cruising is awesome, but also all of that is, the town is like super accepting. Because like that's like Maggie Valley, the town that it's hosted in. Like that's their MO. That's what they do. And I remember when we stopped at one of the little stores, I was talking to the lady who ran it, and she's like, "Oh, you're here for the truck show?" And it's like, "Yeah." And we just start chopping up and getting into it. And yeah, she's like, "Oh yeah, and, next weekend we got a bike show. The weekend after that's like a low rider show, and then we got a hot rod show." So like that's their MO, is they are there to host basically car events, vehicle events.
Yeah.
So that's why it's super accommodating. Accommodating. That's a good word. And then also, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna finish my thought saying that like you said, when we went to Nashville, we took sort of the back way. Like we didn't go jump back on the freeway and went back to Nashville. We went down through Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge and went around that way. And I maybe it's because like we are where we're from, and so we just see green and water, and we're just like, wow.
Yeah. I think so, because a lot of people that come here to Arizona, they were like, I want to go see a cactus. It's like, I can drive up my road and there's probably 5,000 Seguro cactuses on the mountain right here.
Yeah.
And so I see it every time I drive away. But to anyone else, they don't see that stuff.
Angie one time said, as we were driving on the trip, and she's just looking around, taking it all in, she's like, there's water everywhere. It's just coming out, like just out of the hill. It's just spurting out of the hill. Yeah. There's just fucking water.
And we're over here in the Southwest, like,
yeah, I know, right?
Like,
and it's just dry nothingness.
We can't even water our grass.
Hey, but on the same side of the coin, and it's always, you always appreciate where you live, and traveling so much. And I was saying that like you always like what am I trying to say here?
Basically, we see where we're from.
Right. Oh, right. And then so as we travel, one of the questions that I get asked, and I'm going to be very careful with this and not get into the whole thing, but it is a question that gets asked, is when I travel and I go to all these different places, people always ask me, being from California, they're like, where are you going to move to? Where are you, just seeing all these different places, where do you want to move to?
Yeah.
I don't want to move anywhere, because the farther and farther I go out and check out these places, I appreciate them, I respect them, and I think they're just stunningly beautiful. When we're coming back and we go from like that really green, southern East Coast vibe, and it gets drier and more deserty, is like, I get happy, like I'm going home, like, so as much as like we go out and explore, you're always glad to be back to where you're from.
Yeah. It's being a California transplant, I guess. Is that how is that what I am? I'm a transplant.
Yeah.
But I'm only a couple hours away from California, and
right. It's still basically, and where you live now, you're basically back in California.
Yeah, basically. So, I'm the same way. Like, I love visiting those places, but I definitely couldn't live. I probably could live there, but I don't want to, just because of certain aspects. Like, it's real wet, and it's real humid, and there's a lot of I remember being in Nashville after Mini Nats, and we got that Airbnb, and I was like, I could live here. And then the sun went down, and the 5 million bugs came to the porch, and I was like, I could not live here.
Do you remember the kamikaze bugs?
Yeah.
Dude, you were inside, but I was outside. I was doing the same thing. I was like, I cracked a beer. I put on, because we're in Nashville, home of country music. I have a very particular taste in country music, so take that for whatever it is. So I put on my particular taste of country music, and I'm like, yeah, just having a good time. Until the sun went down, and it just says, boom. Like, oh, that was weird. What was that? And then just getting annihilated with bugs, and I like ran inside. Yeah. So yeah, the bugs are a bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
Bit of an issue. But to wrap up that guy's question, there's so many places that are great. And I've said before on the podcast that like when we travel and go to these places, I love just exploring. Like you did in New York. On your trip when you went around and you explored and you checked out the city. Like that's the best thing to do. It's the best. And it's one of the perks of what we do.
Yeah. And I think you should go to every show. Battle in Bama there's so much cool stuff there. Slam Fest, LST, you know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of shows that like, we want to do that are different. Cause we've been doing kind of very similar shows for a long time now. Now we're talking about doing like going to Scraping the Rockies.
Yeah. And, yeah. That's gonna be fun.
We never been to doing Colorado things. I don't know what you do there. You probably just snowboard and smoke weed.
Not in June.
Oh.
You do half of that. Yeah. No, I'm really excited to do that. And that kind of to go back to the beginning of I'm already getting confused. This episode, we answered Vic's question, right?
Yes.
About traveling. Okay. So to kind of go back to that, one misconception about what we do, as much as we go to these places and explore and check them out, and like, I always like kind of like find it neat that you can talk to somebody and you'd be like, yeah, I've been to this place. I can tell you exactly what the cool thing to do is in this place. I think that's neat. One misconception is the travel part isn't cruising, checking stuff out and being like, oh, hey, that looks interesting. Let's go over here. It's relentless.
Yeah.
It is nonstop relentlessness. So there is like a sort of a caveat, sort of a rub to the whole thing. Like, yes, we get to check out these amazing places and really immerse ourselves in those places, but getting there and getting back, it's a mission.
For us anyways.
For us. Oh, for sure. I'm talking about our perspective.
Yeah. If we went to the show just to go to the show, we could leave at 1 PM and go do something. Mm-hmm. Like if we went to Battle in Bama, you're like, oh, cool. I've been here for 5 hours. I'm going to leave and go to New Orleans. It's an hour away. Mm-hmm. That's cool. We don't get to do that because we can't leave at 1 PM. Mm-hmm. So we have to do stuff that's directly usually around there.
And also, to be completely honest, is we actually tried to do it on this last trip, like to Louisiana. We were talking about, like, hey, let's go up to Dallas and let's check on your truck, like let's check it out. But by the time, and it's that little feeling that we always talk about. You pack up, you close the trailer, the doors on the trailer, and you're like, we are out. Yes. And we just hit the road running to do what we said to get back to where our home, where we feel comfortable.
Well, even Mini Nats last year, I had this idea and I was like, hey, and I hit you up. I was like, on the way out there, you have to pick something to do and I have to pick something to do because I want the video to be more interesting. Not just like, okay, we're leaving. Okay, we're here. Here's the show coverage. Okay, we're gone. Like, all right, Frank, pick, I don't know, look on the map, see what's interesting off I-40. Oh, these caves. Let's go do these. And you know what got me onto that thing was Channel 5 News. The Andrew guy, they did a bunch of caves in Oklahoma, and I was like,
the Carlsbad caves or something like that,
something. Yeah, and I was like, but then when it came down to it, we're like, nope, we're just getting there because we didn't like stopping. That's hours and hours of time wasted. So,
there's definitely rubs, and that everybody. I'm not saying that there aren't fun parts because there 100% are, but there is a misconception that what we do is like just this. Yeah, it is. It's a mission. This is what we were talking about earlier too, about, having a goal and achieving that goal is like, that's how locked in we are.
Yep.
So that was a good question. Thanks, Mike. But back. Sorry, Mike. I'm really sorry. You got another one? Didn't you say you had to leave by 2? It's 2 where you're at.
It is 2:05. We have about 15 minutes to get to an hour.
Okay. Well, then let's do one more question and then wrap it up.
Do you want to do a camera question or do you want to do a show question?
We've done lots of show questions. Let's do a camera question. I don't know if I can answer that, but let's go ahead. You will probably answer this much better.
Well, I think it'll be good for both of us.
Okay.
It's William Freeman.
Oh,
Mr. Will Freeman.
they are our producer.
Our producer, Will Freeman, has a question for us.
Thanks, Will.
He said, favorite lenses and why, and post some of your favorite images with said lenses. So,
Ooh, that is pretty good.
yeah. Up until recently, I haven't had a lot of lenses. Lenses are expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive. Yeah.
So, I don't know what I just got. So I have. I'm going to get my lens collection out since they're right here.
There you go.
And this one. Those are my lenses and the lens that's on this camera recording me. Mm-hmm. And they all serve different purposes. But my new favorite, only because it's new and I just got it, is this one.
What's that?
It's a 70 to 180 long lens. Mm-hmm. So that's my favorite lens. And that's what I took.
Why?
Why? Because I can stand real far away and zoom in really close. And then also for detail shots, like of motors, I can get really close detail shots. Instead of like moving towards the object, it gives a different point of view when you zoom in towards the object. So like if I take a picture of like those pictures of Will that I took from the show where he was kneeling down.
Yeah, those are cool. Those are super cool.
That's
probably
fun.
why he asked the question. He wants to know.
That was with this lens. And the only reason it's my favorite now is because it's the newest to me now. Mm-hmm. But each of them serve a different purpose, so.
So that just like that goes to when one of the very early on episodes, we did a whole episode talking about gear and cameras and stuff. And what we always say to people who are interested in doing it is start with something, I don't want to say basic, but just start with something. And then eventually you will want to do more. So you will get the appropriate gear to achieve those goals. Yeah. And that's what's happened in that situation. You had an idea, you had a look you wanted to go for, and the things you had didn't achieve it. So you had to go out and get something to achieve it.
Yeah, exactly. And it took a long time to do it. Like
it does.
This lens, for example, it's a more inexpensive lens, and it's mostly for video. And it's a 105 millimeter or something, but it doesn't get very sharp photos.
Oh,
so but it gets great video. Mm-hmm. So like, I was like, I need a long lens, but long lenses are thousands of dollars.
And long lenses for our like not so camera savvy listeners just like they zoom in on things.
Yeah, they're like a lot of times you'll see a white lens, like a Canon lens, and it's white. Mm-hmm. Those are long lenses. Yeah, like 200 millimeters or for like nature and stuff like that. But this is definitely not the expensive lens. This is the cheaper version of the expensive lens. Mm-hmm. But
so from my perspective, it's the exact same thing. Like I started with a kit lens and realized that like, everything was going good, but I wanted something, more clear, can capture the color better. And that's my favorite lens is, I'll get mine. Hold on.
All right. Oops. Actually, hold on. Yeah. 1 second. 1 second.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go? You're missing.
Okay.
Where'd you go?
I went and got this lens.
Oh. Mine's not a vintage one like that.
Yeah.
But I was just about to say, it's funny. It's so funny because I was just about to say, like, you being the more I'll say you are the professional photographer. I'm proficient, because that's true. That's your job.
Yeah.
If you were to kind of boil it down to one thing, that's what you do. You're a photographer and make videos, and that's what you do. So, I was thinking like, well, mine, I really kind of don't have that many, but I guess I do because I just pulled them all out. And I'm like,
yeah,
wow, okay, that's a lot of lenses.
Over time, you start to collect them, and you're like, oh, I do have quite a bit.
What's interesting is you collect them because you think you want to, like we were just saying, like you have an idea and you have a goal that you want to achieve with a look, so you go buy that lens, and then like that's where this little 50 came from. Like I thought I wanted a super fast lens, and for our non-savvy, fast just means like the aperture opens really wide, and this goes all the way down to like 1.8. And then, so I thought I wanted a super fast lens to really get that blurry background and everything. And I used this thing like a few times, so it's just kind of interesting.
It always depends on what you do. You know what I mean? Like what you do, because that 50 for what you do doesn't come in really much handy because you're not doing a ton of photography or a ton of detail work or like nature photography or stuff like that. So,
or like portraits and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so my favorite lens is this one. This is the 24-105 Canon L lens, and this is my workhorse. This is what I use for. Well, actually, no. Technically, my workhorse is the wide lens. So on the camera that I'm recording with right now, I have a 10-18, which is this one right here. I have two, and I'll explain why I have two in just a second. But yeah, so that's the workhorse. That's what I use the most. But for like show coverage and photos and everything else, this is the one I really like. And I remember when I first got this lens, and I put it on, and even just snapping a couple photos, I was like, whoa! It was just to go from a kit lens to this lens is a huge thing, because this was an expensive lens too. Compared like you can buy the whole camera. Well, the ADDs don't come with a lens, but you buy like a kit. Like a T7i kit, or something like that. It's like, $500-600 for everything. Just this lens was $1,200 when I bought it. So, I mean, it is, and I'm not like fixating on the price point. I'm just saying that like it is an investment. Yeah. So when I got this thing, I just immediately fell in love with the quality of photos that came out, with how rich the colors were and how clear everything was. So this is the workhorse. And then I just have like this, like, the one that everybody has when they buy Canons, just this like super long lens, zoom lens, the 250. So that's the guy that gets everything done for, show coverage and stuff. But now the reason why I have two wide lenses, and again, this is like you're acquiring gear and you're like trying to achieve something. So when I first got my gimbal, I didn't know how to use a gimbal. So I put this kit on there, and since this is such a, zoomed in lens to begin with, it was really hard to learn how to use a gimbal with this lens because everything was so shaky just because it's so zoomed in, until I found out the hack is if I put a wide on it and just open it, like just go all the way wide and then, record in 60 frames per second and then slow it down in Premiere. You can get away with a whole bunch of stuff. Like stuff's not shaky. It's so wide that there's not a lot going on. So I use that, I don't want to say as a crutch, but I definitely use that because it was easy for a long time. And actually, to be honest with you, not until maybe halfway through this year, beginning of the year. So the beginning of the year is when I put this one back on the gimbal and learned how to use it with this, because obviously this one takes way better footage than this, it looks so much better. And so, and like you said, you're able to zoom in on stuff and get the real nice, shots that you want to get. Yeah. So again, it's that evolution. It's that evolution of starting to do something and then, finding out like, man, I really wish it could look like this.
Yeah, exactly. There's, I know his question was, what's your favorite lens? So my favorite lens out of all of these lenses is this lens, and I think it's the most inexpensive, second most inexpensive lens I have. It's an 18-105. So it'll get the wide shot done and it'll get the zoom shot done. And I love that because I don't want to be running around changing lenses while I'm filming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge thing.
It's just like I can stand far back, zoom far in, get the close-up shot, do this, do that, get the wider shot and all that. So this is like you were saying, the workhorse lens, this lens right here. And I think if you're starting out, or if you're like want to up from the kit lens, you find that lens that covers that whole gamut of wide to zoom, and then you'll find out if you like wide lenses or if you like zoom lenses or whatever, and then you take your next steps to buy those. But this is mine.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. It's not the like I said, it's not the sharpest, but it's the best. I like it.
The other question that probably like we have all this like gear sitting out here and talking about it. They're probably wondering like, well, then why do you have two bodies? Because again, it's streamlining the effort. It's making everything easier. Because I used to have just one body and I used to swap out the lenses, and then I realized like I need an A and B camera. Like that's the vlog setup with a microphone. Like that's always staying on that tripod, and then this one is out doing the rest of the stuff. So it's just all of these things are just born out of necessity.
Yeah. Yep. And I think long lenses are the way to go for me though.
I do. And you know, what's funny is that the other thing I was going to bring up is like, you know, I was talking about how I was using this like super wide lens as sort of like a crutch to get stuff done. Even at last resort, you were like, even on the gimbal, you were like, hey, you know, you're in the wrong setting. You're like, because I kept it on the real stiff setting.
Oh yeah.
And you're saying that. And now I'm actually going through, you can see the footage where I switched to having the more loose. And I'm like, oh
yeah. Yeah. It's
always. And my point is like, just always, there's always something new.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then like, I don't know. It's a weird question because I like to talk about gear, but when you talk about your favorite, it's like everyone has a different look that they like. Yeah. You know, like there are certain times when I like real wide, dramatic shots and stuff like that of people and things like that. So I think it's just every situation is different. And
that's why we end up with all this stuff.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go use this lens today for a photo shoot.
Is that where you're headed right now? You're going to a shoot?
Yep. Today I'm going to go shoot details, and then I got to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to shoot sunrise before stuff.
Nice. Yeah. And that's why you're the professional. And I'm just out here messing around. Oh man. But yeah, no, that was cool. Thanks, Will. Because I do like to nerd out on gear. I do. I hesitate because I don't know if people are going to be like, okay. Like, you know, we're talking again, like I had to take a second. Like, what does fast mean? What does long mean? Because we just like throw around these terms. Yeah. You know, people are like, huh? Yeah.
I like talking gear. But it's hard to on a podcast like this when some people are like, I don't know what that means. Like, here's the thing. All these lenses right here are also on here.
That's true. That's the biggest thing. That's so true. Yeah. Like, guess what I'm getting?
Oh, did you order a phone? Did you order a phone?
I did. 14 Pro Max, baby. But guess what? Guess what color it is?
What is it?
Purple, because I'm not just because you have. I know, and I was gonna be like, well, I don't want to get a purple one because Brian already got. Oh, wait a minute, I want a purple one. I don't care if Brian already has one. That like I'm so excited for that. But see, I kind of fits exactly what we're talking about because that will fit a different thing. Like a really good example was a few episodes ago, I was talking about Dockweiler, about how I tried to get my whole like rig into like this show. And the guy was like, no, he's all, are you media? And I was like, no, I'm just here to check it out. And he's like, well, then you can't bring that in. Yeah. But then, you know, my current phone, I won't even talk about because it's trash, but Angie has a 13 Pro and I use that. And I'm like, oh, it's situational, you know, it's situational. And I cannot wait to get my new phone because that will fill a role where like doing, you know, the reels and TikToks and YouTube shorts and stuff, like everything has a purpose. Yep. You know,
everything has a purpose. You just got to find out what you like and then go after it.
And it's funny. Our producer, Will, is an Android guy and he's probably like, trash.
Stupid iPhones.
Stupid iPhones.
Android's had that for 10 years. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Will, you want to know what my favorite camera is? It's my iPhone 14.
Yeah. I can't wait to get mine. But anyway. Well, cool. Well, right on. Thanks, Will. That's a great question.
Yeah. So wait, when does this episode come out? It comes out the 19th.
We said the 19th. So the Christmas week. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you guys are
on Hanukkah.
Oh, Hanukkah. For our Jewish listeners, happy Hanukkah. Yep. Hope you guys are having a cool week. For our Christmas people, hope you're going to have a good week. Merry Christmas.
How are you guys doing? What are you doing for Christmas?
Just normal stuff, man. Just
hanging out at the house.
Hanging out at the house. I'm like the host. My house is always the host house. I almost got out. So Thanksgiving was a few weeks ago and I almost skirted out of it. Cause like, you know, without going into a bunch of detail about it, but I'm like, Oh, I got to go early today too. I forgot my kid is getting off the bus soon. So this is perfect. This worked
Yeah.
out really well. Sorry. Really quick. I cook all the food for us. So I'm the cook. And so Thanksgiving, all these holidays, Easters, I'm always cooking. And so this year I was kind of not stoked about it and I almost got out of it, but I didn't. And I had like 15 people over for Thanksgiving. So anyway, yeah, my Christmas is just having a bunch of family over, making food, hanging out.
Yeah. Our Christmas is this New York trip that we just went on.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, and you had a great time and you only got mugged twice.
Yeah. And,
And you mugged someone.
And we did some mean mugging and got some mugging.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks for checking out this week's episode. Also, like we mentioned in the last episode, we do have a new giveaway going on. Full AccuAir E-Level kit. Thank you to AccuAir for getting with us on that. All you got to do to enter is go to grinder-tv.com, livelifecustom.com. Every $5 you guys spend, you get one entry to the drawing. So go do all that.
And you'll get drop stickers because we're going to get more of those made.
Drop stickers.
And
we have some special edition stuff coming out soon. Working on that.
Is that what we're working on? That's what I was going to ask you about, the drop stuff.
Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll have that
2023.
soon-ish.
We'll have that next year.
Next year. Well, that'll be next year's problem.
Yeah, next year's problem.
Right on. Well, thanks for checking out this week's show. We'll see you later.
All right.